What if silence isn't absence? What if silence isn't the opposite of love? Hey, lovers, welcome to A Moment with Love. Today, we are going to be talking about loving God in silence. There are seasons in our lives where sometimes prayers feels like echoes that go unheard, where worship feels like whispers, where signs get so blurry and even sight as well. But I dare ask, what if silence isn't absent? So let's get right into it. Loving God in the silence. What does this actually mean? As believers, you would agree with me that there are times when you would experience this in your work with God, where reading the Bible doesn't awaken you in that sense. And I mean, emotionally, you don't get to feel anything, where it's like you're waking up and you can't feel God, you're worshiping, and it just feels like, is my voice actually reaching the heaven? Oh, yes. If you truly have been in that intimate space with God, then this is for you. What could we tie to the purpose of silence? I personally think that silence has a way of drawing you into a different level of maturity in God. It has a way of strengthening your faith. It has a way of taking you from the place of feeling, from the place of walking away, to actually learning to glean more. It has a way of teaching you that your faith is not about what you feel, but what you know. So even when worship doesn't feel like, in that sense, some a stimulant that stirs you to feeling it, it just says stay more, pray more, stick to God more. Perhaps maybe God is trying to talk to you in a more quieter way. Maybe He's trying to talk to you in a way that is different from what you've always known. I, for one, have experienced this. I mean, I had a season in my life where I think it was about 2, 3 years where I was holding on to a particular request that I had wanted God to open my eyes up to. I had wanted clarity in that area, but answers were not forthcoming. But here's the thing, there are actually beautiful ways to love God in the silence. How do you do this? Because it is important to know it, because as a believer, you would eventually get to that point, or you'd experience it once in maybe a lifetime. I don't know. But the truth of the matter is, you can utilize this silence. It's an opportunity for you to press in more, pray more, show more gratitude, journal more, press in and learn to actually glean, rather than always waiting for spontaneous and speedy answers or speedy voices. Try to also be honest in your conversation or your intimate moments with God. Inquire as to what exactly that time or that moment you're experiencing is about. Why is that happening? And I believe that as you do that, God will definitely find ways to speak to you. So this is me encouraging you that as a believer, it is not strange that you would have moments of silence in God, but you can utilize that by even loving God more. David was one such example. We also have Elijah, and even Jesus experienced that. There are times we would beckon on God and it feels like He isn't saying anything. It doesn't necessarily mean or appear that He's not saying something. It behoves on us to understand what that moment is about, what we should be doing, what tactics or strategy, because you cannot expect God to always talk to you in the way that you know. No, God is a mysterious God, and He would always find ways to talk to us. It's part of the diversity in God. It's part of what makes God unique. The fact that you cannot just tailor God to a pattern. The fact that you can't just say, this is how I know it to be. No, you have to learn of Him. That's what loving God in silence is about. Learning that, okay, what could this moment be about? What is God up to? It kind of makes it interesting. I'm used to Him talking to me in this way. I'm used to seeing things in this kind of light. I'm used to being instructed in this pattern. But this time, it doesn't look like it is forthcoming, and I honestly need answers. It's a time to learn of Him. You know how you have to learn of your partner, no matter how much you've been with them or known them. There are times in the relationship or in the marriage that you would eventually have to meet certain changes that you have to learn, right? So this just goes to say that even God has love languages. God has how he wants to be loved. He yearns for that appetite where we want to know, how do I appease God? How do I come endearing to him? Yes, we need to understand this part of our work in God, that learning of him, how he wants to be loved, is very, very much a part of our Christian or faith work in God. So, yeah, at this point, I would love to hear from you, viewers. Have you ever been or had a time in your life where you actually felt like God was silent on you? If you've ever been in such a position and you don't mind, please share. Let's know, like, are you currently even in that place? Have you been there before? How long did it take you to go out of there? What did it teach you? What changed for you at that point in your life? And I'm sure we would have quite an interesting comment session. Thank you so much for hanging on with me again this time. Thanks for your likes on my videos. Thank you for your comments. Thanks for sharing. And above all, I'm already hoping that you follow this page. Thank you so much. See you in my next video. Bye, lovers.